Horror works best when it unsettles you long after the screen goes black. Not just jump scares, not just loud music and shadows in hallways. The kind of horror that crawls under your skin and stays there. Dark fantasy adds another layer, bending reality until the rules feel unfamiliar and dangerous. These films don't simply try to frighten you. They create entire worlds where myth, nightmare, and human fear collide. Some are visually stunning. Others are emotionally devastating. All of them are shocking in ways that feel earned rather than cheap. They take risks with storytelling, atmosphere, and imagery. They refuse to spoon-feed explanations. Instead, they drag you into cursed forests, haunted mines, and realms where innocence rarely survives. If you're looking for horror that actually lingers, these are 10 shocking dark fantasy films that are truly worth watching.
The Green Knight, 2021. Inspired by Arthurian legend, The Green Knight transforms medieval myth into hypnotic dark fantasy. Directed by David Lowery, the film follows Sir Gawain on a journey filled with temptation and dread. Dev Patel portrays Gawain as flawed and uncertain rather than heroic. The landscapes feel otherworldly, filled with giants and whispered warnings. The horror lies in inevitability. A single promise drives the narrative toward confrontation. The film shocks through existential weight rather than violence. Silence stretches between dialogue, creating tension. Each encounter feels symbolic and morally charged. The ending refuses clear triumph, instead offering reflection on honor and fear. It's a slow, meditative experience that lingers. Dark fantasy rarely feels this poetic. The Green Knight proves that ancient legends can still unsettle modern audiences with haunting restraint.
The Others, 2001. Atmosphere dominates this gothic tale directed by Alejandro Amenabar. Nicole Kidman stars as a mother protecting her light-sensitive children in a shadow-filled mansion. The film avoids flashy effects, relying instead on candlelight and silence. Doors open slowly. Footsteps echo in empty halls. The tension builds carefully, leading to one of the most shocking revelations in modern horror. The twist recontextualizes everything that came before, rewarding patient viewers. Dark fantasy elements emerge subtly, woven into grief and denial. Kidman delivers a controlled, intense performance that anchors the story emotionally. The film's restraint is its greatest strength. It proves that suggestion can be more powerful than spectacle. Even after the final reveal, an uneasy feeling remains. It's a masterclass in Gothic storytelling, blending psychological depth with supernatural mystery.
Crimson Peak, 2015. Gothic romance collides with ghostly horror in Crimson Peak. Directed by Guillermo del Toro, the film centers on a young writer who marries into a decaying English estate. The mansion itself feels alive, bleeding red clay through cracked floors. Mia Wasikowska plays the curious bride, while Tom Hiddleston and Jessica Chastain deliver layered performances filled with secrets. The ghosts are tragic warnings rather than random threats. The film shocks through revelation and betrayal more than gore. Visually lush and emotionally dramatic, it leans into melodrama while maintaining eerie tension. The dark fantasy aesthetic enhances themes of love, ambition, and decay. Its final act blends violence with tragic inevitability. This is horror wrapped in romantic tragedy, drenched in atmosphere and haunting beauty.
Pan's Labyrinth, 2006. Directed by Guillermo del Toro, this film blends fairy tale wonder with wartime brutality. Set in post-Civil War Spain, it follows a young girl who escapes into a mythical labyrinth while her stepfather hunts rebels. The fantasy creatures are beautiful and terrifying, especially the Pale Man, whose silent menace has become iconic. But the true horror lies in the real world. Violence is sudden and merciless. The film balances childlike imagination with adult cruelty, refusing to soften either. Ivana Baquero carries the emotional weight with remarkable vulnerability. The fantasy sequences never feel like safe escapes. They mirror the darkness outside. The ending is hauntingly ambiguous, leaving viewers debating whether hope survived at all. It shocks not through excess, but through emotional contrast, proving dark fantasy can wound just as deeply as realistic horror.
The Witch, 2015. Set in 1630s New England, The Witch strips horror down to paranoia, faith, and isolation. Directed by Robert Eggers, the film follows a Puritan family unraveling at the edge of a dark forest. What makes it shocking isn't gore, but atmosphere. The dialogue uses period-accurate language, making every accusation feel heavy with religious dread. Anya Taylor-Joy delivers a breakout performance as a girl caught between innocence and suspicion. The slow pacing builds suffocating tension, turning everyday chores into moments of unease. When horror finally reveals itself, it feels inevitable rather than sudden. The film refuses clear moral comfort. It questions faith, repression, and hysteria without offering easy answers. Its bleak ending lingers long after credits roll, proving that quiet horror can hit harder than spectacle. This is dread crafted with surgical precision and chilling restraint.
Hereditary, 2018. Family trauma becomes cosmic terror in Hereditary. Directed by Ari Aster, the film begins as a domestic drama before spiraling into a cult nightmare. Toni Collette delivers a performance so raw it feels invasive. Grief is portrayed as suffocating and chaotic, with tension building through uncomfortable silence and unsettling imagery. One shocking moment midway through the film completely shifts its trajectory, leaving audiences stunned. Rather than relying on constant scares, the film builds dread methodically, layering clues until the horrifying truth surfaces. The dark fantasy elements emerge slowly, blending seamlessly with psychological collapse. Its final act is operatic and disturbing, refusing catharsis. Hereditary shocks because it feels grounded in emotional realism before plunging into supernatural inevitability. It transforms ordinary family conflict into something mythic and terrifying, leaving viewers shaken long after it ends. Suspiria, 1977. Directed by Dario Argento, Suspiria is a sensory assault disguised as a Ballet Academy mystery. Bright, unnatural colors flood every frame, creating a dreamlike nightmare. The story follows a young dancer who discovers her school hides a coven of witches. The violence is shocking and stylized, unfolding in operatic bursts. Goblin's haunting score intensifies every scene, making even quiet moments feel dangerous. Rather than aiming for realism, the film embraces exaggerated fantasy. Doors creak like warnings, shadows stretch unnaturally, logic bends to atmosphere. The horror feels ritualistic and theatrical. Its shocking imagery redefined supernatural cinema in Europe. Beneath the vivid visuals lies a story of manipulation and hidden power structures. Suspiria remains unforgettable because it commits fully to its surreal aesthetic. It proves horror can be both beautiful and deeply disturbing at the same time. The Babadook, 2014. Grief manifests as a storybook monster in The Babadook. Directed by Jennifer Kent, this psychological horror follows a widowed mother and her troubled son. The titular creature is never fully explained, which makes it more unsettling. Essie Davis portrays exhaustion and resentment with painful honesty. The horror builds inside the house, turning familiar spaces into claustrophobic traps. The film's dark fantasy element feels symbolic yet physically threatening. It avoids cheap scares in favor of escalating dread. The shocking power lies in its emotional truth. Parenthood is shown as overwhelming, messy, and terrifying in ways rarely depicted on screen. By the end, the monster becomes something deeper than a simple villain. The film suggests some darkness cannot be destroyed, only managed. That unsettling message lingers, making it far more powerful than standard supernatural thrillers. The Lighthouse, 2019. Isolation drives two men toward madness in this black-and-white descent into myth. Directed by Robert Eggers, The Lighthouse traps Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson on a remote island. Shot in a nearly square aspect ratio, the film feels suffocating. The dialogue blends nautical slang with Shakespearean intensity. Dark fantasy elements seep in through mermaid visions and sea god imagery, blurring reality and hallucination. The shocking tension comes from psychological unraveling rather than sudden violence. Both actors deliver ferocious performances, clashing like mythic rivals. The sound design, filled with foghorn blasts and crashing waves, amplifies the sense of doom. By the finale, the line between punishment and madness dissolves entirely. It's strange, confrontational, and visually hypnotic. This is horror that feels ancient and theatrical, echoing like a cursed maritime legend.
Horror is most powerful when it refuses to play safe. These films do more than scare. They immerse you in worlds where myth and reality bleed together. Dark fantasy amplifies fear by bending the rules of existence itself. Whether through haunted houses, cursed forests, or psychological collapse, each story leaves a lasting imprint. They challenge viewers emotionally as much as visually. Some end in tragedy, others end in ambiguity. None offer easy comfort. That's what makes them worth watching. True horror lingers in thought, not just memory. It forces you to confront grief, guilt, faith, and mortality through distorted mirrors. If you crave something deeper than surface-level frights, these films deliver. They prove that when horror embraces imagination and darkness equally, it becomes unforgettable.